so that if folks miss it, they can find it. But glad you all met or able to. Glad you're able to be here. Patricia, do you go by Pat or Patricia?
I go by Pat. Pat
you go by Pat. Okay, that's great. See, hi Joanne, how are you?
Okay.
I see Chris and Carissa. How are you all doing?
Very good. How are you?
Good, good. So nice to have you all here.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Well, we'll give it a few more minutes. We've got like 4 more minutes. Yeah, no, excited about revamping the Relabel project. We did it, I guess, we started it last spring and had some quite a few things to learn. And I think, you know, with the maps we have and having Hannah and Taylor getting all this into GIS, we've learned quite a bit. So, hi Peggy, how are you?
Hello.
Well, I have to warn you all, if you have anything to say negative about cats, you might want to hold it until Sweetie Belle isn't here. So she decided to join us. But she's pretty good about things. She probably wouldn't mind even if you said something. So, but yeah, I've been busy scanning all the front yard plan views and profiles. I thought I had sent, I don't know, I don't think any of y'all remember Adam Marshall. He was in Terry's position from 2008 until 2011. Yeah, 2007 to 2011. And he oversaw the front yard excavations, what we're going to be have y'all relabel. And when he left, he had twins as well. So it was funny when Terry had twins because Adam had twins as well. And
goes with the job.
It's catching.
It does go with the job. Apparently, Adam's twins were born in the second trimester, so it was they were preemies, and they're doing great. But his wife got a job at DePauw teaching. She was an anthropologist, an archaeologist, and she still is. So I got him set up to write the front yard report. So I sent, and this is like in 2012 through 14, I sent him off with all the paperwork, and he came back with that in 2016. But I must have filed the notebook that had all the plan views and profiles in the wrong location, because I just found it this weekend and I've been going in early every morning to scan all those profiles and plan views. So I don't have all the units for the front yard in yet. I've got everything scanned, but I've got enough to keep everybody busy, and we can go over what the sequence for all this is. So hello Susan, good to have you here. So but yeah, so what I was going to do is imagine this will take about an hour to go through everything. What I wanted to do is go over what's involved with the relabeling of units. Hi Susan, how are you? Go over what's involved with the relabeling of units and go into a little bit, explain. I was going to show you all the story map that I sent the link for, just to explain what that is, so you have a reference to look back on, and then go into an example of one of the units about how to relabel it. And we also want to go over the guide, and then if there's time, what I was going to do is talk a little bit about the front yard excavations. I'm planning to do a webinar, like a lunch and learn, sometime maybe probably it's going to be in February at this point, because I'm going to be I've got to go down and help my in-laws at the end of January with some issues they've had. So, and that is in next week is inauguration. It's the week after that. So it'll be in early February that we'll do a lunch and learn about the front yard. I'll go into more details, but I do have I have the report that Adam Marshall wrote for the front yard, and that goes into, if you're interested in going into some painful detail, there's a lot of detail in that report. So see, we have 2 more people that have joined us, Beth and Sarah. How are you all doing? And what I thought we'd do is we could start with doing just some super brief introductions, because I don't want to keep you all late into the night. And that way we could have everybody get to know each other. Because what I hope that we can do, especially with some of the more experienced people like Dean, who's done a lot of unit relabeling, and then also folks that have been on a number of expeditions like Carissa and Peggy and Joanne, and folks that have been in the lab like Chris, be able to have a consortium of folks that could help each other out. And we'll talk about that in the end, like what sort of app we could use for that and what we use at Montpelier for that, but might not be able to resolve that tonight. But I'll go ahead and start. Most of you all know me. I'm Matt Reeves, Director of Archaeology. Been at Montpelier for 20 years, and super excited to begin the project Relabel. And we could just go around. Dean, if you want to introduce yourself, I'll just go around.
Yeah, I've been volunteering at Montpelier since 2014. I guess the summer or May or so of 2014. And I've done several of the different kinds of expeditions, and I also was enjoying doing the relabeling, and then sort of got away from. We haven't done much of that over the past few months, so I've sort of missed that, and I'm glad we're getting back into that.
Cool. Yeah, Dean was also involved. Yeah, he was involved with the early relabeling in March and April, but then with Kathy, who I thought might be here tonight but isn't, he and Kathy started actually transcribing the strata cards into GIS. And that's what, I'm hoping once you all get a handle on the relabeling, you'll be in a good place to start going into online GIS that's all free and available to do some transcribing. So, but Pat, if you wanted to introduce yourself. You're muted, Pat.
My husband and I have been visiting Montpelier since it was back in the DuPont house days. And we walked in on one of our tours and there were these little black and white sticky dots everywhere. And we asked what that was about and found out it was about the investigation into the restoration. And we've been visiting 2 or 3 times a year since then. We live in Maryland, so it's difficult to be close enough to volunteer for on-premises activities. So I'm excited to this online project that I can join in.
That's great, Pat. This project is part of an IMLS grant to digitize the restoration of the main house. So those little black dots that were on the walls, those are actually datum elevations. Mm-hmm. For recording all the, on the drawings and the photographs when we take a picture. And actually, we just hired an architectural technician to go through all the records and begin to label all the photos for the architectural part. So you all will get to meet her at some point. Her name is Tessie Honeycutt, and she's going to be doing a lunch and learn probably later in the summer when she's got her feet under her and has some things to talk about. So, well, thank you, Pat. Wonderful to have you here. And Carissa.
Sure. Hi, I'm Carissa Trotta. I'm living in North Carolina right now, or has been since about the late 90s. So it's always a pleasure to make my way up to Montpelier, at least for at least one expedition a year. I completed my 6th expedition last October. I think I've also done one of your previous crowdsourcing iterations, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that Mary had with cataloging and glass. And so I was able to take part in that for a little bit. So I'm excited to be able to do this as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Carissa. Sure. And going around, Peggy, you're next.
Hello. I live in Melbourne, Florida. I got to Montpelier my first time right after I retired in 2017. I went to visit, been wanting to see it for years, and that sold me. So then since then, I've been back 4 times on expeditions. I started out with the relabeling project with Dean and Kathy last February, March, but the pandemic happened and I decided I needed to start sewing masks
That's right.
So I stepped aside, let Dean and Kathy take over, but all my fabric's gone now. So I'm happy to get back with this next project again.
Awesome. Thank you, Peggy.
Thanks.
And Susan.
Hi. I first discovered the archaeology program at Montpelier on a visit on Constitution Day, probably in 2014 or so. I've been on 5 expeditions. Hi, Dean. I was with Dean on one. But just really have learned so much over the years, and just really enjoy this great group of people. And so it'd be really fun to be able to participate in this as well. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. And Joanne.
Hi, I'm Joanne, and I just enjoy being out there with Matt and Terry and Chris and everybody, Mary, and I've been on several expeditions, and I'm just fascinated with it. But anyway, I live here in Orange County. Nice meeting all of you.
Awesome to have you here, Joanne. And Joanne is a part of the descendant community, so has a lot of history to talk about at Montpelier. So thanks, Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
Beth.
Hi, I live in Bucks County near Philadelphia, and I have made several visits to Montpelier, and I've done 1 lab, so I probably have the least experience of anybody. I don't really have any experience out in the field, but I'm interested in helping out with this project.
We'll get you trained, Beth, and then you'll really want to come on a dig expedition, which would be great.
Well, I wanted to, but then COVID happened, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Beth. Sarah.
So I came to one of the ceramics things a couple of years ago as just a trial run to get to know archaeology in the area. I learned archaeology stuff at school in the Midwest, so it's very, very different. And I've been back, and I just got moved from Wisconsin to Norfolk see, I can't say it right, during the middle of the pandemic this summer, and I'm doing AmeriCorps stuff there, but I'm in the general area, so I can actually do more things now, so it's fun.
Cool. Yeah, you'll have to come up and visit, do some outside visits. So
I am hoping to.
And last but not least, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hi guys, I'm sorry that I don't have my video going, but I have curlers in my hair because I'm going out later on, and I just refuse to subject you to that.
Oh, now we really want to see you, Chris. So it's okay. It's your prerogative. So sorry, Chris, I'll stop.
I'm a local person. I live just about 15-20 minutes from Montpelier, and I luckily fell into it right after I retired in 2014 when I made a trip to see Montpelier for, the second or third time, and met with one of their former staff, Allie, who was so enthusiastic and convinced me to become a volunteer. And I'm lucky enough, before the pandemic, I was in the lab every Monday. I was able to go there every week to work in the lab, and absolutely loved it. And I did do 1 expedition. In fact, I was with Dean. I think we were partners, and I hope to get back there soon. And in the meantime, I'm really happy to be involved in the project.
Oh, thanks, Chris. We miss seeing you every Monday. So part of the Monday morning ladies. All right. Well, what I was gonna go over was start with the story map that I sent you all, just to kind of give you an idea of the what we're going to do with all these labeled relabeling of these digital assets or images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and let's see. So hopefully you all can see my screen now, and you can see. Can you all see the story map that I've got up here? Okay, awesome. This, I think you all have had a chance to look at this. This is the story map talking about, bringing all the paper work online for, in this case, the seller space. And I like using this one as an example because it basically, it shows where, the photos, the drawings, the cards are going to end up after they're labeled, what they're going to be attached to. So, when you think about archaeology, one of the most exciting things that it's out there are, the features. Like, for example, this one is the excavation of a subfloor pit. This was a storage pit in the middle of the 1797 cellar. And so you can see this guy is feature 424 right here. And here is the feature all in its glory right there. So this particular shot right here is, this is the closing shot of the feature. And if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see this, it might be a little small on your screen, and we'll go over this in the guide. This particular photo is labeled with MT955, that's the unit, and you can see that actually this says unit 971, and this is the cellar was the hugest, and Dean, you can attest to this. The basement was the biggest nightmare to relabel because there were a lot of units that had two different unit numbers because this feature was in two different units. So what we did is we selected the lowest unit number. Fortunately, with a front yard, there's not going to be a lot of this, and so I can't believe that anybody stayed with the unit relabeling in the cellar. So I think a lot of people saw this and ran away because it got so confusing. But in this case, 955 is the unit it's associated with. It's feature 424. And then, so that's the strata. So unit number right there, unit. And then this is the strata right here, which is the feature number. And then the PH, as you might expect, that stands for photo. And then what kind of photo it is the closing photo for that feature. And so again, we'll go over the guide that has all this in it. And for other things that are attached to this feature, you've got a plan view. So this plan view right here, again, it's the unit number is 955. In this case, it's labeled with D3, which is the layer, and then it's plan view. And so by labeling the units, what we're able to do is this is actually the file name for this file, and all the unit data, the strata, and then what kind of photo, all this is what's called metadata, is it's encapsulated in the unit name. And what's great about this is once this digital file is relabeled, this name lives with it forever. So, as long as this particular file, this JPEG picture right here, this scan of this profile is maintained on a computer, that unit name will allow anybody to know what it's associated with. So this is what's called data integrity, and making sure that, the data is encapsulated in the file name in this case. So, and then what we're able to do is we're able to take this data, that's this metadata in the file name, and then associate it with, in this case, the actual feature that it's, or the unit that it's associated with, and the feature. So if we skip down to the unit numbers down here, unit strata, let's see if we zoom in. This map actually, I'm going to skip to, let's see, this map right here, because this map, what we can do is let me turn on create labels. Yeah, in this case, you can see that for feature 424, it's in unit 955 right there. And so all this data is in GIS, and we're able to, with these photos being labeled, we can attach it to the map. So in this case, the feature number is 424, and that's how with this layer up here, all the feature layer, we're able to associate all this data with the feature. So there is, you know, the intention of labeling these photos isn't just to, you know, be neat nicks and have everything in place. We're actually able to take that data and then attach it to have those data, all these photos be able to be attached to these maps. So what it allows us to do is, you know, not only archive all this information in a digital map in GIS, but also in GIS create story maps like this that allow us to interpret the data. In this case, this story map is kind of meta because it's talking about the process of recording all the data and making the map. But what we're going to be doing over the next several months is actually creating interpretive maps with the story maps that describe what's found in these excavation units. And this is part of what I'm interested in having you all be exposed to, is by going through all these unit records and knowing what makes up these units, is you all are going to have a better insight into how we can interpret this data as well. So, you know, there's things that we as archaeologists like to interpret, the occupation history that we're able to figure out from the building. So for example, in the cellar here, this is the main house. These red walls are the walls of the main house. This is the 1797 cellar. Here's the front portico. These subfloor pits let us know, these three that are right here, the three that are right here, let us know that the enslaved workers are actually living in this space and using it. So that's, you know, a couple of steps removed from the actual archaeological data, but it's from the archaeology data. But with you all actually working on this, you all might have suggestions, and this is what we want to crowdsource, of, you know, what else you think others might find interesting, especially expedition members who, you know, it might be that you all, you know, in going through some of these units, like especially with the front yard, that you all might come across units in the front yard. And this is the front yard. If I zoom out here, and this map is a little abstract because this is the LiDAR as the background. Here's the main house. The front yard are all these gray units right here. Is you all might find a sequence of uncovering, say, posthole 708, where you're like, oh my goodness, you know, Matt, Terry, and Mary, the series of photos that uncovered MT 708, if you made that into a flip book, it just really illustrates the process of how these features are found and excavated. And so there's a lot that we can do working with you all, not just, you know, doing the actual relabeling of the digital files, but also, you know, getting into the interpretation. So didn't want to leave that out because it's something that, you know, definitely want to query you all on. So getting back to some of these layers that are here, and interrupt at any time with questions. So you know, just unmute yourself and call out the questions if you have something. The other you know, set of data is profiles and elevations. So a lot of you all know profiles. This is, so for example, with this subfloor pit, feature 424, this one right here, there's not only a photograph of the profile that was excavated, but there's also a drawing of this profile as well. So this unit data will be associated not only with a feature, but also we have an entire layer that's dedicated to all the profiles that we draw across, you know, all these units. And a lot of times, you know, finding out what units have profiles is almost impossible from the paper unit records, because these things are scattered among thousands and thousands of pages of records. But having all these green lines here represent all the profiles that were drawn during the cellar excavation. So this is a profile of the builder's trench that's right here. If I zoom in here, you can see the builder's trench, this orange right here. This is this orange feature right here is the builder's trench for the 1765 house. This is 1797 house. This is the exterior wall in 1765 of the house. This is the builder's trench. And then this profile right here shows, you know, not only the photo of that, and we can click this into another window that shows, you know, the very bottom of the builder's trench right here, but then there's also the drawing of this that you can see right here, where this is actually the very first feature we excavated at the main house in 2001. That's why it's feature 1. We're up into the thousands by now. But this shows the profile of this feature. So you can compare the photograph with the drawing. And so there's a lot of information that's in this, that having this on a map with the feature, there, and being able to actually, go back up here and click on the feature. And this is a photo of all this feature when it was excavated. All of a sudden, there's all kinds of data that you've got, at your disposal to be able to look at, and then be able to, go back and understand what happened at these units, but also make some interpretations. And then the kind of the nuts and bolts of all the data you're going to be doing is the unit strata. And the unit strata is all the individual strata that were excavated. So for example, in MT 981, this is the unit that's in the middle of the cellar. There were only 2 strata excavated, strata A and then strata O, which is the surface. The O was the bottom of the concrete, and then A was right underneath that. Let's see. No, we'll go back. Oh, here we go. A was right underneath that, and that is the layer that had all the artifacts for the cellar. And so what's also associated with these is the strat card. And the strat card is every single layer that was excavated has a stratum card. And this has all kinds of information. It has the color of the soil that you can see right here. It has all the elevations that were taken, what photos were taken, the initials of the excavators. This one's pretty slim, but some of them, like if we get into the features here, let's see, stratum, 434, 493. Let's go to another one. That one, the strat card is missing. This one, it's underlined. Stratum A2. This one has a lot more information, talking about what was below and above the stratum. And this is eventually, once we get all these things relabeled, we're gonna want to have, switch the project over to actually data entering all this information into the online GIS. And this is actually, for those of you all like Sarah, who's going into archaeology, this would be, a good experience that you could actually put on your resume. So that you familiar with GIS, and maybe you're already familiar with GIS. I don't know, Sarah, you might be a GIS expert, and I'm saying.
I'm not an expert, but I've dabbled in it, did a couple of archaeology maps. I'm gonna try and go for a certification starting next fall once I get state residency. Cool. So
at what school?
It's either going to be ODU or I think it's Tidewater Technical College, one or the other.
Okay. Well, if you ever want to talk about that, Sarah, I'd be more than happy. We've had a number of staff who have gotten a certificate in GIS, and like a graduate, and they've gotten very nice jobs, like DJ, who's up in Rhode Island now. So DJ is probably earning more money than I am, or at least I hope he is. So
I might need a project at some point for school. So
we might have about a couple of thousand projects for you, Sarah. So
excellent.
So this hopefully gives you an idea of where all this data is going to end up, but also clicking through this map, you can actually see how these units were relabeled. Because what happens is after you all are done relabeling all the unit files, we're going to put this in the Amazon storage service called S3. So Amazon has, as you probably know by now with what's going on in DC, Amazon has a huge cloud sharing service that's used for all kinds of websites. We use S3 to store all of our data. And what's great about it is that the file name is, all you have to do is, we have this, your part of the URL preset, and all we have to add on is the file name. And then you've got your URL that can be, you can access it on the World Wide Web. So it makes it incredibly, efficient for, bringing this stuff into GIS. So the background for all this, and I'm not going to get into this, but just to briefly show you, the background for all of this is this web map. And this web map has, some of the same, information in it. But behind this, for example, with the OR 219 stratum form, is a table that has, literally thousands and thousands of records. And my screen does not seem to be, let's see, OR 219 stratum form. Let's go to, yeah, for some reason, all the fields aren't showing up here. It might be that I need to reset it. But suffice to say, there's a massive table associated with all these. These are all records that that Hannah and Taylor entered in for the cellar. So they have literally entered in, thousands of strata cards for all the excavations that are in the cellar. So I would not want to sentence anyone to go through and click through all these cards, but Hannah and Taylor did this, as part of their regular day job. And where you all are going to be focusing on is the front yard with all the excavation units out here. So for kind of the next phase of this, what I wanted to do is show you all where all this stuff lives. And this is on the Google Drive. And getting to the Google Drive, let me see this, unfortunately, the Zoom interface wants to cover up these guys. In this unit naming document, there's the location for the Google Drive for the front yard in here. If you scroll down through this document, you'll see that the front yard. Okay, I need to put this in here. I will put this in. I'll put the link to where the front yard data is into this document. And I'm going to put that right up front. Let's see. Ellie's Kitchen. Location of front yard units. And let's see, get link. Just so I don't forget to do this. There's that long link right there. So if y'all are in this document right now, you can actually go to this link and click on it. And what it'll do is it'll open up to the front yard, and you'll be able to see all the units that are ready to be labeled. And so what you do when you're ready to open up one of these units and begin to relabel it is you go to, for example, this one is MT1027, and with this map, we can see where MT1027 is it's right here. This trench we opened up in 2005 in the front yard. And for MT1027, when you double click on this folder, what you get is, and you can change this into the actual pictures by going, from the list view to the grid view, is you can see all the different photos and records that are associated with MT1027. And what you'll be doing is basically going file by file and relabeling these. And the best way to start with this is the stratum cards. And so the stratum cards, when we had these scanned by the company, they scanned them and labeled them with the unit number. And then this stands for strata card, but we're going to want to change that name. And so to relabel these, what you do is you can double click on it and it'll open it up, in the screen. And then what you can do is double click on the ... right here, and you can click rename, and this will allow you to rename this file. So I'll go over this from the guide for how to do this, but this one is going to be MT 1027. And then the strata is strata O. And this is a card, so it just gets CA. So what we've got right here is we've got the unit number, we've got the strata, which is strata O, which comes from, the card right here. The unit number is right here under MT 1027, and then CA, and I'll show you this in the guide, stands for card. What you'll want to do is leave the PDF alone. That's really important. The PDF is, of course, the type of file it is. In this case, since these stratum cards have a front and a back, we couldn't scan it as a JPEG. We just put it together as a PDF. And so you'll want to leave that. If you deleted that, Windows won't know what kind of file it is, and it'll just end up being corrupted. So that's how you relabel it. And once you relabel it, do the rename. Again, go to over here and go to rename. You can then change the name of it. And what we do is we put periods in between each of the pieces of data, like MT 1027 is the unit name, and then there's a period for, and then you put in the strata, and that comes from the stratum label right here that's on the card. And then finally CA is for card, and that's separated by another period. And again, once you start looking at these, don't expect to understand this right now. It's probably completely overwhelming. But once you start looking at these and look at the guide, and maybe one really good thing to do is go to the IMLS map, and you can click on these and see how they're called. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to relabel everything in MT 1027. So you can look at the names and look at what it is, so you can get a handle on how this works. But once you get into it, it really is quite simple. It's just taking a little bit of time to getting to know the system. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm recording. Let's see. Yeah, we're recording right now. And what I'll do is I'll send the link to this so you all can go to YouTube and look at this video and see how a lot of this works. So this will be kind of like a video guide. So I doubt anyone is going to be doing searches on Google or on YouTube looking for how to relabel units. Like a lot of people go search on YouTube for how to redo your brakes in your car. I don't know how many people are going to go searching for how to redo units, but we'll be there in case somebody's interested. So anybody have any questions or comments about this so far?
I usually do the cards first, and then that gives me an idea of where everything else is going in the unit.
Okay, yeah, that's a good suggestion, Dean, because yeah,
I know how many strata there are then, and so on. So
yeah, there is usually there's always a card for every single strata. And so like Dean's saying, the cards are a pretty good guide, and they're in order. So this one, yeah, this is strat A, and then you've got strat B right there. And then you go to the next one, this one should be, yeah, it's strat C. So you've got, these are all in order sequentially by number. And the reason why O is disappeared is we relabeled it. So it's gonna appear, let's see where O went. Yeah, it went all the way to the back of the line, because since it's relabeled as O, it goes all the way down here. What'll happen is you relabel.
It should be 0, not, wasn't it?
It's 0. Thank you.
Which is it again, 0 or O?
It is a 0. And the reason we do that is when I relabel, let's relabel this one right here. So I'll double click on it. I'm going to go to the ... hit rename. This one will be MT 1027.A.ca for card. When I hit OK on this, it's going to disappear from here, but it goes 1027.0, 1027A. And then when I do the same thing with this one, double click on it, go to ... rename. This is MT 1027.B.ca. Hit OK and go back to this. And then you can see, they're all forming their little line like good little ducks. And when you do the photos, what is really cool is the photos will appear with the card in the sequence. And then what we're going to do, what we'll do eventually, I found an automated way to do this is once we download this back to DOS or to Windows, I've got an automated app that actually combines all this into a single PDF. And then you've got a report for your unit that it's one-stop shopping for everything in that unit, which is super exciting if you're an archaeology nerd like we all are. So, but it's really nice because what this means is for unit 1027, once we have all this stuff assembled, you can go to this map right here, click on the unit, and there'll be a link you can click that has all the data attached to it. And so if we had a graduate student that was looking at 18th century landscaping in the Piedmont and wanted for archaeology and wanted to use this for their master's project, I could just send him or her this GIS map and they'd have all the records. They could be in Alaska, they could be in, Taiwan, they could be anywhere, and it'd be one-stop shopping. Right now, what somebody would have to do is be completely confused by this series of unlabeled, files that don't make any sense, or before we scanned all this, actually come to Montpelier and look at the records. So the one thing about Google Drive, and Dean, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think, does everybody here have a Google account, like have Google Mail? Is everybody a Google?
Yeah, you need to have a Google.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Denise. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Sorry I missed you. We introduced everybody at the beginning. If you
Oh,
just a short introduction, if you want to introduce yourself, it'd be wonderful to meet wonderful to have you here.
oh, thanks. It's so much fun to be here. I did a dig with your team with my daughter back in 2008.
Oh, that's right. Yes. You all are actually, your daughter is Emily, right?
Emily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually Willis descendants of Montpelier, which is so cool. Been corresponding with Emily about that.
It's too cool. Yeah.
It is. So descendants, have relations with the Madison family.
Right. Yep. And I'm sitting here in New Jersey, just loving this. So
Awesome. Well, wonderful. Say hi to Emily, and looking forward to having you on this project, Denise.
I will. Thanks. Good to be here.
Having a Google account gives you access to this. What I've done is I've set the access privileges to this to be anybody on the internet that has this link can actually edit it, which is a little terrifying because if anybody found this, they could go in and delete all these. But knock on wood, so far so good. We might. I've been thinking about changing this to have it be specific people, which would be pretty easy to do. There's quite a few people on this, and we could change that. So, I probably will change this once we have everybody on board. We'll get you all into this. So, the other thing that you'll notice about the 2005 records, and you're probably already seeing this now, is you're like, why are there 3 photos that look to be the same? In fact, in this one, there are actually 4 photos that look the same. So this one is front yard. The nice thing about the photos is they have a menu board. And so this one is MT107 opening of Strat D. This one is opening of Strat D, same date. This one is opening of Strat D. And then this one is opening of Strat D. And this one is opening of Strat D. What we used to do, this is the early days of digital photography, is we bracketed the photos for lighting, which is completely unnecessary. So what you'll do is you'll go through and basically pick the best photo. Make sure that the one you're picking is, has good lighting and isn't blurry. And we're getting a little Google delay on this. I'm looking at this one and I like this one the best. This is 744. What I'm going to do, and this sounds absolutely terrifying, but it's okay because these are all we have these originals backed up on the server at Montpelier. I'm going to delete these other 4 and moving them to trash. And we only need 1. So this one is, we're going to relabel this one. I'm going to double click on this one and we'll relabel this one MT 1027 dot D, and this is dot PH for photo. And for opening photos, most all the photos, 90% of the photos are opening photos, so we don't add any detail to the PH. If this was a closing photo, we'd add in closing. If it was an in progress photo, we'd add in progress. And again, this is all detailed in the guide, so you'll see this. I'm just kind of going through this on the fly. So once we relabel this one is now relabeled, and it disappears and goes all the way to the bottom right here. And I am hoping that there are, yeah, like this one is feature 630A. I'm looking for strata A in here. Yeah, I'm not seeing.
Seems to me, I recall that sometimes, you know, you have similar shots, not duplicates, but you have similar pictures, photos of the same part of the unit, but you do want to keep those. You don't want to delete those, do you?
Yes, sometimes, yeah, this is in the guide, is for instance, let's see if we have an example of this right here. This one is a profile that has 2 profiles on it. And what we're going to want to do with this one is actually, and this is new, Dean, is we're going to want to make a copy of it because there's 2 drawings here and they get labeled differently. This one is the, let's see if I can, yeah, if I use the mouse, I can, or the wheel, I can zoom in on this. This one is the north wall, and then this one is the east wall. And so they get 2 different labels. So you would make a copy of that. But it looks like for this set of photographs, or for this unit, strata A and B are missing in the photos. So I'm gonna, and let me see,
That happens.
It does happen, yeah. This is from June of 2005. So I'm not sure why these photos aren't there. That's it. Like you said, Dean, sometimes it happens and we do the best we can. So for that, what we'll do is once all these photos are done, we will have a record of what photos are missing. And so we can go back and look for those eventually. But I have the feeling these are just, they were not photographed for some reason. So with that, feel free to explore all of these file folders. And one thing I forgot to do is when you're relabeling, before you open up a folder and begin to relabel the photos that are in there, go to this folder, and what you're going to want to do is rename it and just put your initials there. So MBR. And that way, say if Carissa, you're logged on at the same time that I am, you'll know not to take over 1027 because I'm doing it. So basically, each one of you all are going to own one of these folders. So like, Joanne, if you're logging in later on tonight and you did 1028, you would label this one with your initials. You go to rename and then put your initials right there, JAB. So and then once you've got the unit completely relabeled, you'd go ahead and put it in completed. If you're not done yet, just leave it in this folder. But if you
do you want us to leave our initials on it after we put it in complete?
Yeah, please leave your initials on it.
Leave the
that
initials.
Way, if we have any questions, we can go back and ask you.
Okay.
If you've got a folder where you've got questions, what you'll want to do is instead of putting it in completed, go ahead and put it in problems. And so in this case, what we could do is, we put it into problems and we'll move it. And now when you go into problems, you can see that 1027 MBR has some issues. And we open this up. What any of our staff looking at this will do is be able to see what photos weren't relabeled. So if you have a question about a photo and don't know how to relabel it, don't relabel it. Just leave the name how it is. And then what we can do is we can relabel that ourselves. And we used to have people put notes on it, and you can do that if you want. But basically, if you leave it unlabeled, we'll know what to do, and we can do the proper labeling of it. And one thing we've learned about this process, and I'm gonna go back and move this guy to the front yard here. So it's back. Is if you have any kind of doubts about something you're relabeling, don't try to be a hero and just guess at what to relabel it. Because once you relabel something and it's in the completed folder, we'll never know that it's a problem or that you had a question about it. And having a document that states, we tried having a document that states which folders or what units had problems, and it just got really ugly. There's no way to kind of track these things down. Having it in the problem folder, especially in the beginning, makes us really happy, because it means that you all are thinking critically, and as issues come up, you're not just trying to complete things, you're putting it in the problems folder, and we can find those problems. It's just kind of like, if the problems get hidden in the completed one, they're gone forever. So don't feel that if you put something in the problem folder, you're failing. You're actually succeeding, because there's probably something weird that we need to look at. And we're not going to download any of these folders until all these right here are in the completed. So if there's still things in the problems, we know that we need to go and fix some of the data. And so you all are going to be doing 98, 97% of the work on these. And it's going to be really quick for us to go in and fix some of these problems. So far, anybody have any questions about any of this? Anybody want to run away yet? Oh, Peggy.
I have a quick, so I take what you're saying then is, if I'm working in a file, do as much of it as I possibly can. And when I've got two little stickler problems left, then put it in the problem file, because otherwise, if I stick it over there beforehand, somebody's going to come along and fix it all up. And I didn't need them to do all of that. I just need them to fix two little things. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Okay. And
all right.
And by leaving this, like this one right here, I was working on MT1027 and obviously got distracted with doing this webinar, and I might come back tonight at midnight and do this. But by having it right here, this is in progress, that, no one should touch this except for MBR. Okay. Once it's in the problems folder, when I scoot this over here to the problems folder, then that, you go in here, okay, MBR has finished this, and we look at this and it's like, okay, looks like Matt had a lot of problems because he didn't relabel anything. So, but what, right. And let me move this back. Let's see, this will go to front yard, move, and there, now it's back in the front yard. Okay. For some reason, if you all move a folder and it disappears, just let us know and we can find it. You can actually, when you do a search in Google Drive, it's a pretty robust search engine. You can do a search on 1027, and what'll come up is, there it is right there. So I'm back in 1027. So Google, I really love Google. I mean, Google Drive, there's so much you can do. How many of you all are familiar with Google Drive? Somewhat. Who's never used Google Drive? Okay. All right. Well, you all are going to learn. And Joanne is the secretary of the OCHS. So I've got we're doing some lessons in Google Drive coming up. So she and I are both on the board for the Orange County African American Historical Society. I am Joanne's assistant for her being the secretary. So
Matt, can you go back into the 1027?
Yeah.
How would you relabel those the binder ones?
Oh, the binder ones. Yeah, for these guys, and I was going to go into the unit record naming document for this.
Okay.
But these, just to go through these real quick, these are what are called plan views. The plan views are like overhead drawings of the units. And then when you go to, like all these are plan views. And then when you get to these are profiles right here, Beth. You can see these are like the side profiles of the strata of the walls of the unit. And what I'll do is we actually have a user's guide, a field guide that describe all these records. And I'll put that into the unit record Google Doc, so you all can reference that. Of course, the field guide today for 2020 is very different than the field guide was for 2000 and in this case 2005, because we were using back in 2005 we're using strata cards, these guys, instead of our massive strata sheets that we use today. Or actually, as you all saw from the webinar, we don't even use those because we put it all into GIS. So I will try to find if there's a field guide from back in 2007, the dark days of archaeology at Montpelier, when we were using strata cards. I'll make a note to myself to do that. Fine. Actually there isn't, because the whole point of when we created the strata sheets, actually the field crew had a rebellion against the strata cards in 2006. They were like, Matt, we don't want to use these anymore. They're awful. We can't record everything we want. We're ending up having to write teeny tiny. And so I said, okay, we'll develop a strat sheet that you like. And they developed the current strat sheets that we use today. And it's at that time that Mark Turkett, who used to be one of the crew chiefs, he developed the strat guide that's gone through about 12 different versions. Every year there's a different version. So I'll give you the most up-to-date strat guide that is for the sheets, but Beth, it'll go over what plan views and profiles are. And so we use it with field school students and expedition members, and you'll appreciate it because it goes into a deep dive. A lot of you all that have been on expedition programs, you've seen the field guide and been like, oh my Lord, this is too much to read. And then once you're in the field, it begins to make sense. So for relabeling these, Beth, the best way to refer to these is, I need to refer to this myself, is the unit record naming. And so this document right here is a Google Doc that is your guide for renaming all the pre-2008 units. And so this talks about, where the front yard unit folder is, the objective for what we're doing here, how they're organized. And then this gives these bullet points right here. These are the different names for the different record types that we have. So we already covered cards, which is CA. That's the last part of the name for the file name. Photo is for photo. PV is for plan view. So that's, for example, that one is like this one right here is a plan view. And again, what I'm going to do for you all is after this call, I'm going to relabel everything in 1027 and put it in completed so you can have an example of all these. PI is for photo in situ, and that is one that doesn't occur that often. The profile wall drawing, this is profile where the XXX refers to northing, easting, and westing. And actually we've changed this because it only gets one of these. So it's profile and then drawing. And then PX is for profile wall photos. So an example of a profile wall photo is this one right here, where you've got the profile wall and all the layers are labeled. And so this profile wall photo right here, this is the south wall. So how this will be relabeled is it will be, and there's looks like there's 4 of these to select from. And so I'm going to go through and I'll figure out which one is the best looking one and then delete the rest. You've got I like this one because it's most up and down. This is 769. So I'm going to delete these 2. And again, don't stress about which one to delete. We have backups of all these. And I know it's absolutely stressful to have you all delete photos, but these are all, and if you accidentally delete all the photos, don't sweat it because we have these backed up. Just send me a note and we can reload the photos from what we have backed up. But for this one, how we'll relabel this one is, let's see. So this one will go to rename. And this one is, again, it's MT1027. And then for the relabeling convention for this, there's this table right here that is the strata, the feature profile wall photos is, the MT letter, that's for feature profile wall, unit profile wall photos right here is it's MT995 and then a period, then an underscore, and then the P and then the E for east, N for north, etc. So for this one, this one's going to get a dot, an underscore, a P for profile, and then this is the south profile wall. And then you're done. And in this case, the reason why you've got a dot and an underscore is there's no one strata associated with that. So this underscore is a placeholder for the strata. And then the PS is the actual record type, which is profile south wall. The actual profile for the south wall, the drawn profile is, south wall is right here. So this one would get relabeled. So rename, this would be MT1027. And again, go back. And probably what you want to do is you'll want to print out this guide. That'd be the easiest thing so you can have it in your hand. And the unit profile wall drawings is right here. So this is, the MT number dot underscore, and then profile, and then the W is the direction, and then the D is for drawing. So in this case, it is dot underscore profile, and this is the south wall, and then it's a drawing. And so then that one's done. So again, and so then it's all the way down here, all labeled. So here's the this south wall profile, and then here's its associated drawing. So again, with this, going over this document right here and reading through it, I think going between this and some of the examples of the folders that are relabeled, this will begin to make more sense. I mean, there's a lot to take in right here. And what I'll do is I'll send you all an email right after this where basically a step-by-step learning guide to go through this. It'll, it's going to be I'll have the example of 1027 all done. I'll put in a link to the field guide, the kind of the intro field guide that we use for field school students and expedition members that explain all these records and what they are. And then I'll put a link into this unit naming document. And between the 3 of those, I would say for those of y'all that haven't done this before, expect to spend, a couple of hours, just reading through these and getting familiar with it. And then once you want to start tackling some of these unit relabeling, some of these units to relabel, just go in and grab the next available unit, rename the folder and put your initials there, and then you can begin to practice, relabeling these. And again, the worst thing you could do is delete all of the files that are in this folder. But again, just tell them, and you probably won't because that would just be ridiculous. But in case you do, just let us know and I can copy this all back. Because again, the reason why we can do this on a remote basis is there's no harm done with what you all are doing. It's only gain. So if this was the only digital copy of all of these records, it would be a little terrifying to, work with volunteers on this and you all probably wouldn't want to do it because, if you mess something up, there's no going back. But with this, we've got all this backed up and we have multiple backups. I've got this on my home, not my home computer. This is my office computer that's at home because we're under COVID, but also back at Montpelier, all this is backed up on the server as well. So if you want to ever meet a paranoid person, meet Matt Reeves with data, and I'm very paranoid. So we've got this all covered. And I'm probably talking about this too much, but I see some people with some concerned looks and just want to alleviate your fears. Either that you're crazy for doing this with volunteers, or no. What's great about this is you all are a lot of y'all have been on programs, and those of y'all that haven't, you'll have enough information when you start going through this that the whole point of what we do with our programs is getting the public involved and educated about the research that we do. So a lot of this, the purpose is to get these relabeled, but it's also to have you all learn about this process and to get you all involved as, interested citizens in the kind of research that we do here at Montpelier. I mean, that's why we're a public property and we give tours. It's all part of this larger thing where the research that you're involved with here is going to be interpreted to the public, and you all, in this case, are in a meta way the public, learning about this and help us interpret it. So it's a fun process. And Dean, would you have anything to say about all this with the number of things that you've relabeled? You've relabeled hundreds of process.
Yeah, I think just take it one unit at a time and read all the instructions, read through. If you have questions, ask me, try to get an answer. Sometimes there are things, but just have to kind of ease into it. As you said, Matt, it's once you get the hang of it, it's kind of it becomes somewhat routine, although it seems like there's always something that turns up
yeah,
that looks a little different. Oh, what's that? So
the photos alone,
and if that's the case, it goes in the problem file.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say other than that.
Yeah, Peggy.
When I was doing it, Matt, I know it sounds maybe rudimentary, but I found it really helpful to keep a pad and pencil right there. And I wrote out each name before I actually did it until I got the hang of what I was doing. Awesome. And that really helped because then I had it there in front of me and I didn't have to go back and forth as many times.
I do that too.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion. I love that, Peggy. Thank you. Yeah. One thing I would love to do with this, and I was talking with Terry about this, is I would love to have a way for all of us to be able to communicate. So you all can answer each other's questions in addition to me answering questions as well. And one way we could do this is through email, but that's going to create a kind of a big mess of emails. There's another way it could be is we have a program that we use called Slack, which is oh, you knew it, Sarah? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a piece of software that's used for teams that are made up of remote individuals. And this is what we are, is we're a team, and we're all in remote locations in our homes. And so I'll send out an invite to you all for Slack. And if it's too much, don't worry about it. You could just email me. But if if you all start using Slack and it's useful, we could begin to communicate in that way. And if anybody has any questions, we could do a webinar on Slack on its own. Terry said he'd be more than happy to do that and teach you how to use Slack as well. Because the nice thing about Slack is that if like Susan, if you're doing your name changing at 1 a.m, and then Peggy wakes up at 6 a.m. and sees a question that you posted on the group chat, she can answer it. And then when you wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning from working all night on this, you can be like, oh, hey, Peggy, thanks for the answer. And, it's asynchronous, you can, those answers will be there. And then, but Pat, when you see these questions, you might be like, oh, I didn't think about that. That makes sense now. I saw that before, and I'm glad, Peggy, thanks for the answer on that. And so it becomes not only crowdsourcing labeling this, but crowdsourcing, all of us working together as a team. So I will work with Terry on getting a Slack channel set up for Project Relabel, and then we can all be part of that. So yeah, Pat.
Yeah, I have a question, Matt. You said that you want us to record our volunteer hours.
Oh, thank you. Yes, absolutely. And actually, I've got that one opened up in the in this unit relabeling guide. I think there is, let me see, let me do a search for hours. Yeah, please note to record your hours in the Google Sheet. So when you click on this, this is the Google Sheet right here. And basically what you do is go all the way to the bottom. So you can see that Kathy and Dean have been adding a lot of hours in. Is just put your name in, Reeves, and then the date, today's the 13th, 2021, and I put in like 1 hour. So, okay. And then we can combine all these, and Mary Furlong Minkoff has access to this now, and she's compiling all the hours so we can, get you all, credits if Montpelier does something for volunteers, or we do, like, we have something that's called Volunteers Day. And Chris, you'll remember this, where for Volunteers Day, we used to get together in the lab and have a nice lunch potluck. And but we'll do something over Zoom for Volunteers Day. Mary's organizing that. So, but yeah, does anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question. Let's say that I'm doing my thing for the first time and I'm nervous about it. Can I throw up on Slack for somebody who's more experienced to say, hey, can you take a look at my file and tell me if I've done everything correctly?
Oh, that's an awesome suggestion, Sarah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'll be like that for the first several.
Yeah. And that, what you could do for that, Sarah, is when you've got your unit done, is rather than put it into the problems, because you don't have a specific problem, is just leave it in this open folder. And then that way we know that you're not done with it, because once it goes into the problems folder, Hannah or Taylor are probably going to go in and just fix it and it'll be done. But if you keep it open, then if you put into the chat, hey, can someone look at this? We could look at it, tell you what needs to happen, and then you can go in and complete it and have complete ownership over it, and then either put it to completed or say, I'm sick of this one because this unit was all messed up and it was excavated over 3 different years and it's confusing as all get out. I'm putting it into the problems one and I'm going to one that's simpler. So you can make the decision. So really, I'm never going to move any of these folders into either completed or problems. Well, actually, I will. If there are folders in the problem folder and we correct it, we're going to drag it over and put it into completed. But anything that's out here labeled like MBR, we'll leave it there. I mean, unless there's something that, it becomes a vagrant, and like 6 months from now, MBR is still hanging out there. We'll go and fix that one. And this one, given me, it probably will be lurking there for a month or so. So, but yeah, I would say once we get this Slack channel open, I'm excited about this. I think it'll be dedicated just to you all. So when you go into it, it'll be a complete history. It'll almost be like a discussion forum where, you know, each question, like if you go into like a washing machine discussion forum, there's somebody post a question, and then all the questions about replacing the belt on the drum are all right there. It'll be like that. And you can see in Slack, you can have, even in the channel, you can have a conversation. I've got, when I show this, don't be terrified, please. This is our Slack for the department. And you can see we've got, you know, these are all the channels. We've got all kinds of channels out here in conversations. For general, this is one that, you know, has a history going back a year where everybody checks in. And so this morning, Hannah, Taylor, Sarah, Matt, me, Tessa, who's the new person in architecture, Terry and Mary, and then Sarah Lee, we all checked in, said what we're doing, what we did yesterday. And then if there's something like on, let's see, you know, you have all these channels that are out there like IMLS, the grant we're working on right now. I put out here a question. Hey, wanted to know that you all uploaded the photos, and Taylor and Hannah answered, and I never answered them back. So I need to go back and answer their questions right there. But this stuff waits. It just waits for you, which is great. So rather than Hannah and Taylor thinking I'm a jerk because I never answered their responses at 8:37 in the morning, I can do it tonight at 2 in the morning, and they'll be like, all right, Matt was up late. Sorry for him. He's not going to be getting up at 7 this morning. So,
yeah.
So yeah, we'll try the Slack channel and see how that works. And again, like Dean said, you know, we'll just, you know, take this one unit at a time, and we'll go from there. But again, what I'm excited about this is, you know, having, you know, a community, you know, a team Relabel, team project Relabel, where we're all working together on this. And it's kind of like a digital expedition, which is pretty cool. So, and I was, for what this project is, I was unreasonably excited about doing this webinar tonight. It's not the relabeling, but it's being with all of you all. So it's having old friends that meet and making new ones. So cool.
Can I make a suggestion about Slack?
Yeah.
I joined a virtual team thing for AmeriCorps this year, and
Okay.
if you do not set your settings in Slack, do not set the email notifications, or you can set it for like once a day or something.
Oh my
But if you
goodness.
don't go through and set those, you will get an email every single time one person
Yeah.
posts, and it will
Nightmare.
drive you
Yeah.
insane.
I do not have Slack
Saying that.
alert me at all. If I had Slack alerting me, my phone would just be awash with Slack notifications. Terry and Chris and others have them go to their phone, and you'll be in a meeting and it'll be like beep, 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 beep. And it's just like, I would lose my mind with that. So yeah, there's, and Terry would be a really good one to do a Slack webinar for this, because I would have to coach Terry to, you know, go in on the shallow ending and then go deeper and deeper, and you can do it as intense. There are things that Terry does in Slack that I don't do. I don't want to get into some of the uploading apps to the Slack to make it all communicate with other things. So, but Terry does a great job of that. So, well, cool.
Matt, you're sending us this recording, right?
I am, yeah, what I'm going to do is, it'll probably be in about an hour because I have to upload it to
No
YouTube.
problem, because I'm already nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous, Joanne. I will send the recording to this, and then I'm going to send the step-by-step guide
Right.
for training,
Okay.
like
Okay.
what document to look at,
Mhm.
what folder to look at, so forth and so on. So you can ease into this.
Is this the same as the Google Docs that you were talking about the other day?
Yeah, all this. Well, Google Docs is oh, stop it. Zoom, go back up. Google Docs is this one. This is a document that I made in Google Docs.
Right.
That's on the Google Drive. So if you go to IMLS Mansion Restoration, you'll see unit renaming, unit record renaming is a file in the folder right here. It's in the base folder. And that's this one right here. So there's Google Drive, which is the whole, all of these folders. And then within Google Drive, you've got Google Sheets, you've got Google Docs, and then this stuff and then these are the individual folders like Front Yard. Like these are just files within, these are JPEG files and then PDF files within Google Docs. They're stored in Google, they're in Google Drive. They're PDFs and JPEGs that are in Google Drive, but Google doesn't have a way to manipulate these because they're created by, in this case, Adobe Acrobat. And then this one is created by the camera and modified in like Photoshop. So.
Okay, I know that I'm going to need you, not tonight. You remember the paper that we typed up the other day, the minutes and everything?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I did the correction, but you had it set up so that it wouldn't accept the corrections.
I know. We'll schedule.
Yeah, that's another day. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll schedule something probably like maybe on Saturday morning to do.
Okay.
So we'll shoot each other an email, Joanne.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have something, Dean? Oh, you're muted, Dean.
He's muted.
You're muted, Dean.
All right, I got muted somehow. Can we start on the front yard?
Yeah, you all can start on the front yard, absolutely.
Okay.
And
sure.
Dean, if you wanted to finish my 1027,
okay,
that would be awesome. I will change this to
yeah, I usually just use DC.
DC. Okay, cool. So I'll do it lowercase so it kind of stands out better. So DC.
Okay.
So this is Dean's folder now. Yay, Dean. I don't have to go back and relabel those. So.
Okay, I will. I'll work on that.
And
soon.
Yeah, Peggy.
I was just going to say to Joanne, I felt the same trepidation when I started it, and that's what I said about the pencil and paper. That helped me. I decide, okay, I think this is the proper way to name this thing, and I'd print it out with my pencil. I'd go check that document one more time, be sure it was right. Then I'd enter it. But then I also found too that having a written list in front of me, I was better able to keep track. Like, okay, is this stratum B, C, D? What? Oh yeah, okay. I just did C, so this has got to be D. Okay, I didn't have to keep going back and forth looking at the pictures over because I was writing myself a list as I went along. So I was just going to say, take your time, double check yourself 50 times until you feel comfortable, and then pretty soon it gets a lot faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your word for it.
You'll get there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how to attack them. You said to do the cards first as a starting point.
Yeah.
Does it make sense then to like work through the photos and do all the photos and work through the, the various different kinds of records? Is that a good way to approach it?
Yeah, that's a great way because the cards, I mean, if you follow it in the sequence of how these units are excavated and analyzed in the field, you go from the topsoil, the grass, and excavate each layer stratigraphically. Each time you finish a layer, you write up a card and take a photo. And then when you're done with the unit, you go and draw the profiles of each wall. And then in some cases, as you're doing the excavations, there will be a plan view that'll be drawn of a feature that you encounter, like a post hole. And that, when you look at the card, really the thing to do is to look at the cards before you label them. And there's information in there, like there'll be a clue. Like what I'm curious about 1027 is photos are recorded on the card. If there are photos recorded on 1027, Dean, for A and B, I need to go and find those. And what we'll probably do with 1027, Dean, is if there's missing photos, we could, we did this, Dean, is we had a folder that was for units that had missing
missing photos or
missing
something.
photos. So I'm going to put that missing photos, because that was the most common problem. So if you get something, if you have something that has missing photos and you're done with it, you can slip it in there, and then we'll know, hey, we got to go and find the missing photos. So but yeah, that's a good way to approach it, Pat.
Okay.
So
I have a technical question.
yeah, Susan, yeah.
I don't work with Google Drive all that much. And when you were talking about the needing to make a copy of a drawing, if there are two drawings on one page, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Being honest here, I feel like a third grader, but
No,
I'm
absolutely.
afraid to raise my hand.
It's just it's the same drop down as for the rename.
Yeah, so this one right here, this has these two profiles right here, and you can you click on this with a left click. If you right click, like Dean said, this drop down menu comes down, and then you can
down below
make a copy.
Make a copy.
So when you make a copy, it takes a second, but now there's a copy of this one, and you could relabel those differently. What I wish Google Drive would let you do is edit these photos and crop them, but it's, we could do that at some other point. It's not, the most important thing is, in this case, having this one be the north wall, and then this copy will be the east wall. And anybody looking at this, for the unit records will be able to figure it out. All the information will be there.
Matt, I don't know if you'd ever want to do this, but you could always take a screenshot of just the first graph and then the second graph, and that creates two separate images. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you could. I mean, if any of you all feel comfortable doing this, you could actually download this, bring it into like Paint or Photoshop, crop it, and then upload it back. If you're comfortable doing that, I am thrilled. I would be so happy if you did that. And because what you'd want to do if you did that is, for example, you'd want to crop this for the north wall, but this data that's up here, this would need to be copied and put down here as well, because this is the title for this whole page. And you wouldn't want to just crop this, because you'd lose all this information, the date, the initials of the person, and then the scale. So again, that's the more intensive end of this. So there's things that can be done like that. So, well, awesome. Well, looking forward to having you all start this, and I'm sure, sounds like Dean's going to get started on this tonight. So, which is awesome. And you don't have to, Dean. I'm just joking. But what I'll do is I'll download this video, and then I'll put it on YouTube and send you all an email in a couple of hours with the link. And then in the meantime, I'll look for some of these documents to put in, for you all for some background information. So, but if there's no other comments, and what I'll do is I'll also CC Terry on this, and I'll have him set up a channel for this, because I could probably do it, but I'm a little bit dangerous in Slack, and I'd want to have it be that it's in the right place. I'll talk with him about it tomorrow. So he is the Slack master. That sounds weird, but it's sounds like he's slacking off and the master of it, but he's the Slack software master. So cool. Well, wonderful seeing you all tonight. I know you all probably want to, I know I want to get this email out and then probably go to bed. I'm an early bird, and I'm gonna start fading here pretty soon. So, but great seeing you all, and thank you all so much for helping with this. And great to see you all. And we'll expect an email from you either late tonight or early tomorrow morning. So,
Okay.
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Nice to see
Good night,
everyone.
everybody. Nice
Bye.
meeting you.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
bye-bye.